What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. I'm Drew Dinkmeyer here with Mike Gallagher to walk you through tonight's team slate in the association. We get a couple smaller size slates before bigger slates to end the week. So a little bit of a reprieve from the NBA schedule that we are now, depending on the team, either 40 to 45% of the way through the NBA regular season. So in 2 weeks, basically, we'll be at the halfway mark or more of the NBA season. Mike Gallagher, how are you on this fine Monday?
Yeah, doing great. Got a hike in already today. Matchups is up. We already did an interesting podcast. Talked about Draymond, and yeah, pretty excited for this slate here. No 14 gamers. Just I cannot stand that. Still mad about that 14 gamer on Friday, where I had to wake up at like 5:30 in the morning on Thursday just to like get ahead of it. But yeah, this is a nice slate, man. This week, so pretty excited.
Yep. All right, let's get into the game-by-game stuff. Let's start with Boston and Indiana. Boston got the injury report. Kristaps Porzingis listed available. Jason Tatum listed out due to left ankle sprain management. Sam Hauser out due to right shoulder impingement. What are your expectations for Boston in this rematch against Indiana tonight?
Yeah, injury management tag on this ankle that's been bothering him. Not a back-to-back set, which is quite interesting. Fantastic game from him on Saturday. Shout out to Boston -7, which I had. But yeah, so we can expect. It should note that Porzingis got his eye scratched early, but again, he's good to go. Curious if we get a goggled unicorn out there. We'll see. But so he'll start. I would expect Al Horford to start. Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jaylen Brown. And then, Hauser's kind of a big deal. We saw him play quite poorly in the first half, picked up fouls a bunch. So him being out of the rotation should bring in a little bit of, I would expect the matchup's a little bit tough, but we could see a little bit of unicornet and unicorn overlap. We saw a couple games ago, they had 7 minutes of overlap when they were kind of like full strength. So I think that's on the table. Certainly Peyton Pritchard, I think could play a pretty good bunch. We'll see how small Indiana goes. O'Shea Brissett should be in there. And then we'll see if it's Svi or Delano Banton, kind of leaning Svi to fill out some wing minutes. And we could see like really elevated minutes out of the backcourt. Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday. A great matchup for Jaylen Brown, as I mentioned before. The Pacers are really bad in transition. So it could be a pretty strong showing from him.
Yeah, it's interesting because we don't usually associate wing depth as an issue for the Celtics, just because Tatum and Brown are two of the best wings in the entire league. But losing Hauser, kind of a big deal for that wing depth. And if you think about kind of what skill sets, we talk about this a lot, you think about positional replacement, you also think about skill set replacement. You think about the skill set replacement of Sam Hauser, and that's more of a Svi Mikhailuk option than a Delano Banton. Delano Banton would be more like a Drew Holiday or Derek White kind of skill replacement in terms of primary defender on ball. So thinking through those things, it'll be interesting to see. They could also shift Lamar Stevens into the rotation, shift him down a little bit, but shooting is really kind of the priority here. So we'll see how Boston adjusts, but would expect to see some Svi Mikhailuk potentially tonight. All right, Indiana side of things. Bruce Brown, questionable. Andrew Nembhard, questionable. They've been questionable the last few games together. Isaiah Jackson also listed questionable with a finger hairline fracture. What are your expectations for the Pacers tonight?
Yeah, it should be Isaiah Jackson in there. We saw he was going to kind of play through it last time and, it wasn't really injury related. He just wasn't very good. And he picked up some fouls. So, yeah, he'll be in there. And then Bruce Brown should be back. We saw him kind of get managed in the back-to-back set. So expecting him to return. Aaron Nesmith got hurt a couple games ago. Looks like he's good to go. Thought he looked a little bit limited. Tatum was completely cooking him. And then Nembhard's been out with his mid-back sprain and getting ruled out pretty quick. I thought he had a chance to play in the last game, did some warm-up stuff. So he could be back. I think that regardless, I think they're going to probably start with Bruce Brown, Halliburton, Nesmith, Jalen Smith, and Miles Turner. So expecting, I think all these guys got a good chance to play. Would certainly say Isaiah Jackson most likely, then Bruce, then Nembhard in that order.
And the matchup changes a little bit without Jason Tatum, right?
Yeah.
In terms of that 4 spot where we always talk about how against bigger wing defenders, they really like to have Aaron Nesmith out on the floor. They still have that requirement with Jaylen Brown out there, but there's not 2 of them anymore. And it's also going to lead to Boston playing more lineups potentially with Porzingis and Horford. So probably a better spot minutes-wise for Jalen Smith, for Obi Toppin, those types of guys as well, just as the matchup changes. All right, move to Chicago and Charlotte. Chicago things. What was that?
I said Matherin's been playing pretty well at the bench.
Yep. Chicago and Charlotte. Alex Caruso questionable. Zach LaVine questionable. Nikola Vucevic probable. Patrick Williams questionable. So a lot of questionable tags here for the Bulls. What are your expectations for Chicago tonight?
Yeah, should be in for the LaVine stuff. We saw him return and play right up to the limit of 30, and that was kind of by design, even though this game was mostly comfortable. Looked pretty good overall. We know he's kind of killed the Hornets, so expecting him to be back in the starting lineup. Obviously, Kobe's playing a ton. I would expect Vooch also to come back in the starting lineup, also returned kind of right at that sweet spot for his minutes limit. They were very aware of that, which is pretty easy to do nowadays. So yeah, those guys should be back in the starting lineup. Dalen Terry will be out of the starting lineup, but I think he's kind of made a rotation spot. He played pretty well. And then obviously DeMar kind of chugging along with minutes. I should mention Alex Caruso and Patrick Williams missed the last game. Patrick Williams has been we've seen this probable tag on Patrick Williams for a while, and it wasn't BS. He was playing through injury, according to Billy Donovan. Same with Caruso, been kind of playing through some stuff, which is kind of status quo. So yeah, expect a full rotation here, and we'll see if Dalen Terry could kind of squeeze in there for the last rotation spot, possibly over Javon Carter.
Chat asking if Zach LaVine was a midday downgrade today, and if that increases your concerns around the shoulder. I believe it was a shoulder that he was listed for. Yeah, shoulder soreness and foot inflammation. Okay. Any other thoughts on LaVine?
Yeah, it could be a mid grade. I might have to double check that actually, because I think he was not listed with that shoulder thing. So I may check that and I'll report back in a second.
All right. On the Charlotte side of things, Cody Martin was a midday downgrade to questionable on the injury report. They're listing out Gordon Hayward, LaMelo Ball, PJ Washington, and Mark Williams. Mark Williams, the timeline now seems like it's going to be a ways away, which is still really confusing just in so many different ways. The first being that they listed him doubtful for like 10, 11 straight games. The second being that the injury that he's listed with is a lower back contusion, which does not seem like an injury that would keep you out for what we're going on a month plus. So very confusing on the Mark Williams side. Any other notes on Cody Martin and the rest of the Hornets after you get through any of your research on Zach LaVine here?
Yeah, LaVine was listed with the initial injury before, and then that midday downgrade did reflect the shoulder injury. So that's new, which does not fit with what Billy Donovan and LaVine said after the game. So I'm not sure when that happened because there was no commentary on it. But yeah, confirmed that was that he got downgraded for the shoulder thing. So I don't have much background on that. On the Hornets, buddy, they are thin, man. They're so thin that I actually picked up Nathan Mensah in my 30-man team because he's going to have to play some minutes. PJ Washington being out is kind of a huge deal. We'll see if JT Thor can kind of lock in secure minutes. Brandon Miller had some funky minutes in the last game, kind of got a little bit of a hook. And if they don't have Cody, they're going to start Bryce McGowan, who they were kind of comfortable going to. So he would be starting. Terry Rozier's role has been insane. Since he returned from illness, he's leading the NBA in touch time with over 9 minutes of touch time. So yeah, Nick Smith Jr. would also be playing a little bit behind if Cody can't play. So yeah, they're probably one of the thinnest teams in the NBA right now.
Yeah, I should note on the Mark Williams stuff as well that there was some Instagram hunting on Gordon Hayward's wife posting on Instagram about how his injury was much more severe than what the Hornets were reporting and he was trying to play through and whatnot. I think it was with regards to like a shoulder issue or something, that he couldn't lift his arm above his head is basically what she was saying. And they were asking him to play with a fracture. And he's listed as out with a left calf strain. So I wonder, with that and Mark Williams, what's going on with the Hornets reporting stuff. Okay. Let's move to OKC and Washington. We can go through OKC quickly. They have nothing really substantial on the injury report. Washington has Landry Shamet and DeLon Wright listed available. As we've seen for them with the backcourt depth there, it has impacted the ceiling on guys like Tyus Jones and Jordan Poole, who are the fantasy assets you're more concerned about. So what are your notes on OKC and Washington tonight?
Just really poor play from Jordan Poole. He was at Wes Unseld was asked about it and just said that he's getting a lot of tough coverage. Going to probably have tough coverage today in the form of Lou Dort. So tough spot for him. Certainly, pretty good chance this is going to be a blowout with how bad the Wizards are in transition. OKC, the top transition team in the NBA. But we'll see DeLon squeeze. That'll squeeze a little bit of Coulibaly's minutes with both those guys in there, but not exactly a lock that Shamet's going to get full minutes. So really the minutes cap is more of a function of just getting blown out all the time.
All right, Houston and Miami. On the Houston side, no Dylan Brooks still with the right oblique strain. No Tari Eason still lower left leg injury management. Any other notes on the Rockets and how that impacts them tonight?
No, just really big win from them. Overall, beating the Bucks when they were on a back-to-back and the Bucks were not. Just huge win from them. I know they're trying to find Ahmed Thompson minutes, but he's kind of not been able to get there. So he's going to be hanging in the mid-teens with Tari Eason out. Certainly, huge minute ceilings from Jabari Smith. Jayshawn Tate's minutes are kind of teeter-tottering a little bit with Jeff Green. Alfred Sengun, really big role, tough matchup for him. And then Van Vliet should play a ton, actually. I was almost considering cover boying him since it's going to be so heavy on zone. We'll talk about that in a second. And then Jalen Green could be great because we know the shot creators can do some damage against the zone, but he could also crater because Spoelstra can make mistake-prone players make more mistakes, and Udoka is kind of a no-nonsense in that regard.
Miami side, Jimmy Butler listed out, Caleb Martin listed doubtful, Kyle Lowry probable here. What are your notes on the Heat tonight?
Yeah, I think Jovic should be starting again. Not confident. We saw him have that great game against the Lakers and then didn't have it in the last game. But again, I think they're going to start with him. And I think they're going to play so much zone here. We saw them play a ton against the Lakers, against LeBron. I think against this Rockets offense, I think we could see the more zone possessions than they had all year. So you guys can talk more about that. But basically, I think the shot creators like Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green could be a little bit more valuable in this matchup. And then we'll see if they kind of extend the rotation. They've been running this 8-man. I don't know if that's a sustained plan for him. So, it's led to a lot of minutes out of Richardson, Duncan, Jaime Hawkins is playing a ton. He's actually out touching Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero is not playing well. Since Jimmy Butler went down. So we'll see if he could kind of rebound. And then Bam's role has been insane. He's leading the team, in touch time. The scoring's up. Usage has been really strong, except for the Anthony Davis game. So, could see a really big role out of Bam against Sengun. Although they actually could put Jabari Smith on Bam. I would think that is going to be kind of the one-on-one matchup more.
Utah and Milwaukee. On the Utah side of things, they're listing all their G Leaguers out here. No other notes from Utah. So that's no Taylor Hendricks, no Johnny Juzang, Bryce Sensabaugh, so on and so forth. What are your expectations or notes around the Jazz tonight?
Yeah, they like this lineup. It finally had a good game. It had been running quite poorly in the previous starts, but this time it was really, really effective. They're locked and loaded with this rotation. Obviously, kind of famous last words, but really no indication that they're going to be shifting things. So, not great for Keontae George. He just can't carve out a big enough role. Walker Kessler's minutes have been muted. John Collins played really well, and that's been a focus of their offense. They're trying to lean more into the pick and roll game, with Collins being more of a roll man, which is kind of why I was going into preseason mode. We were really talking up John Collins, and they're starting to use him. In that sense, with more screening. Now that Kessler's been locked into a bench role, it's kind of made him involved in more actions, which him and Sexton have been working well together.
Yeah, the other thing for Keontae George here is this is a team that their record, I feel like they were 6-13 or something like that to start the season. They were really off to a really slow start, and they've gotten it all the way back up to 17 and 20. They were 6-13 as the low point of the season. So here they are. They've won 11 of their last 18 games, and they're right on the brink of the play-in. And so we saw them here last year, and they made adjustments at the deadline, but not like wholesale changes. They got rid of Mike Conley and Jared Vanderbilt and stuff like that. But that's the question mark, is like, is Colin Sexton now starting to cement himself as maybe more a part of the future of this team than maybe they thought before? And a lot of the path and the idea behind the thesis behind Keontae George this year was that they might eventually clear out Colin Sexton and allow like Keontae George to kind of run with things, or at the very least clear out Chris Dunn. And they haven't done either of those things. And if they're competing for a play-in spot, that there's a concern that might not go away. And so a number of reasons to be concerned about Keontae George from a fantasy perspective right now. Milwaukee side of things, no campaign, concussion protocol, still without Jay Crowder. And then Damian Lillard is out for personal reasons tonight. So point guard, ball handler depth is thin on Milwaukee without Payne and Lillard. What are your expectations on how they try to solve that issue tonight?
Yeah, not great to lose Campaign and Damian Lillard. Terrible timing on the concussion. So they only have one point guard that's, a quote-unquote point guard, and that's Ty Washington. That said, I still think they're going to start with Point Middleton. We saw them kind of sprinkle in the Point Middleton lineups when Dame was sitting on the last week and a half or so. So I would expect them to start Chris Middleton at the point, on Malik Beasley, Andre Jackson I would expect to start, Giannis, and then Brook. The bench would certainly have Pat Connaughton in there. Obviously, Bobby Portis. We want that 6th Man of the Year award. Marjan Beauchamp. And I think AJ Green could sneak in there. And as I mentioned, we got a little bit. Ty Washington's not a lock, but I think it makes some sense that they would run him in like the non-Middletons, which would be about 15, 16 minutes. So he could get that, but he could also be a 0 because obviously Giannis can handle, so they can kind of stagger and run the offense that way. But we kind of are mixing it up with the AJ Greens of the world, but we do have Andre Jackson expected to start.
All right, last game of the night, Phoenix and the Clippers. Both of these teams on the second night of back-to-backs here. Phoenix, Kevin Durant returned last night on a minutes restriction. I think he ended up playing 36, 37, so I don't know what the restriction really was, but I assume there will be some notations on him tonight. What are your notes here? Neither team has filed on the official injury report as of this recording, so what are your thoughts on both Phoenix and the Clippers tonight?
Yeah, definitely a chance that Durant sits. Terrible loss from them yesterday. Yeah, keep an eye on him. I think he's going to sit. Usually these guys with these hamstrings, when they play full, are sitting. So should note that. Devin Booker also tweaked his ankle, got shot in the ribs. Did post game. Vogel wasn't really concerned, so I expect him to play. But don't be surprised if you see a probable tag or a questionable tag on Booker. That's mostly it. Beal's been playing pretty full minutes, pretty strong role from him overall. But yeah, definitely a pretty good chance that Kevin Durant sits.
Eric Gordon back tonight?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Eric Gordon probably. I don't have a great feel for that. They haven't really mentioned it, but it sounds like it's kind of a day-to-day thing, so he could be back.
Okay. And then on the Clippers side of things, we've seen their main guys play through back-to-backs this year. Tough loss last night. No travel required because they're playing in the same arena that they played in last night, even though I believe last night was officially a road game. What are your notes on the Clippers tonight?
Yeah, just keep an eye on Kawhi. So the reason why he missed time was a hip contusion. That's not usually a thing you need to manage, unlike Kevin Durant's hamstring. So Ty Lue said he expects Kawhi to play, would expect the same, but it's Kawhi. We never truly know. You got a 2.5-hour gap if you're playing the DFS slate, so you're kind of hanging. If he does get a Q tag or even a probable tag, we know the Clippers have been pretty shady with late injury additions. So just that's kind of an interesting part of the slate, just because it's so far away from every other game time wise. But yeah, expecting everyone to kind of be out there. And damn it, Russ, why couldn't you score one more basket?
Yeah, that missed layup at the end hurt for Russ. Yeah, and both DFS sites have included this game on their main slates tonight. So a little bit of a change in what we've seen of late with DFS sites kind of adjusting the schedule. So you will have to hang on for news. All right, that'll do it for this edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. As always, if you are interested in supporting our content here, you can subscribe to this YouTube channel, get notifications by hitting that bell whenever we go live, and be able to help support the content that we're putting out here. We're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers on our YouTube channel by the end of the year and need your help to do so. If you're interested in our premium content behind the paywall, you can find myself and Gary Hartman breaking down the slate on our DFS show, establish a show at 5 p.m. Eastern time behind the paywall. The good chalk, the bad chalk, the contrarian plays, the leverage pivots, and of course the flag plants, all with myself and Gary Hartman tonight at 5 o'clock Eastern time. If you're interested in any more information on our premium products beyond the paywall, you can go to establishedrun.com/subscribe-MBA for more details. As always, if you want to really support this free content that we're putting out there, the best way to do it is to feed that algorithm. Those likes help feed our families, and that allows us to feed you the NBA injury information and analysis you need each and every day to set your season-long lineups, your DFS lineups, and make your spread bets and your prop bets. So smash that like button, help feed the algorithm. It helps feed our families. Nom, 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 nom. We'll see you tomorrow.